There's a moment every man faces when her silence feels like a storm pressing against your chest. You want to speak, to chase, to break the quiet, but this is not a test of her feelings. It's a test of your strength, Epictetus said. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When a woman ignores you, she's betting you'll crumble first. She's counting on your impatience to hand over your dignity for her attention. Most men take that bait, flooding her phone, orbiting her life like she's the sun. Up to you. Are not most men. You are here to reclaim your center. I know that quiet anger, lowering your standards just to hold someone already walking away. This is where stoicism sharpens you. Your response now defines not just the relationship, but your belief in your own worth. If you think you are nothing without her, you will chase. If you know your value is self-contained, you will stand still. In that stillness lies power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Her silence has no claws unless you give them to her. When you choose not to react, the noise fades, while you move forward with precision, discipline, and calm. This is not about making her miss you. It's about building a life so complete, her validation becomes irrelevant. It is a weapon. When provoked, remain unmoved. When tested, hold your ground. By not rewarding neglect with pursuit, you send a clear message. My attention is earned, not assumed. But silence alone is not enough. If you wait, you will break. Fill that silence with growth. Train harder. Work smarter. Deepen connections with those who value you. Invest in your craft, your body, your mind. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery here is walking forward without needing her to follow. The fear of being forgotten is far stronger than the comfort of being chased, but only if your life moves without hesitation. When you master this, you will never fear. Being ignored, silence held with conviction, speaks louder than any words you could say. Detach your validation to many men. Let a woman's reaction become the mirror they measure themselves by. If she responds, they feel alive. If she stays silent, they collapse. This is the trap, building your self-worth on someone else's. Approval. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In relationships, this means accepting that your value is not up for negotiation, even when others withdraw. Detaching your validation is cutting the rope that ties your self-esteem to another's opinion. When you stop depending on her acknowledgement, you become steady, the same man whether she praises or ignores you. Most fail because they crave constant reassurance, mistaking attention for value. But value does not fade because someone else fails to see it. It fades only when you hand over the power to define it. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This detachment comes from building identity in areas she cannot touch: your discipline, your work, your health, your network, your contribution to the world. These pillars hold you firm, so if one crumbles, you remain standing. In practice, this means living so completely that her silence is just information, not a crisis. You note it and keep moving. The irony is that true independence often draws people back, but it must be real. Pretending to be detached while obsessing in secret is transparent. People can sense when your independence is genuine. A real example, a man whose relationship ended while he was building his business. Instead of chasing, he poured that energy into his work, fitness, and friendships. Months later, his ex reached out, not because he posted for attention, but because his life's momentum was undeniable, Seneca wrote. A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. When you focus on becoming impossible to undervalue, her silence loses its power. You no longer live for a reaction. Live for your mission. And that is the kind of life no one can take from you. Stop feeding her attention, every like view. Or a comment you give a woman who ignores you is a deposit into her ego without any return for you. In today's world, attention is currency, and you must treat it as such, Marcus Aurelius wrote. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Where your attention goes, your mind follows. When she withholds her presence yet still receives your silent engagement, you teach her that your focus is hers by default. This makes her absence easier for her and harder for you. You keep her close enough to see, but far enough to never connect. Stoicism teaches control over what you give. Seneca said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." Your attention must be directed toward what respects it. That means cutting not just direct communication, but also the quiet signals, the likes, story views, and casual check-ins. Each one whispers, "I'm still here," even when you say you've moved on. Consider the man who, after a breakup, removed all passive channels of contact. He didn't block in anger. He simply stopped being part of her daily awareness. Instead, he invested that time into learning a skill and growing his network. Months later, she noticed the absence not because he made a scene, but because his validation was gone. By cutting the feed, you create two shifts. You free your energy to build your life, and you leave a void where your constant presence used to be. Humans notice absence, even if they never admit it. But this must be done without bitterness. You're not withholding to punish. You are reallocating resources. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In relationships, emotional wealth is the same. Invest only where your attention grows in value. The faster you stop feeding neglect, the sooner you regain clarity, respect, and peace. Make her absence irrelevant the moment you give meaning to her absence. You hand over control of your emotions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Silence dictates your mood. You are no longer steering your life. Making her absence irrelevant isn't pretending she doesn't exist. It's reshaping your life so her presence or absence changes nothing. The weight of her absence depends entirely on how much space you give it in your mind and schedule. If you leave room for her, pausing your growth in hope she returns, you make her absence the centerpiece of your life. But if you fill that space with purpose, discipline, and progress, she becomes just another chapter in your story, not the climax. Seneca said, "Life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future." The truth is, many men feel a void not because she left, but because they never built a full life before she arrived.
Ow.
That gap, not with her return, but with your own expansion. An example. A man whose partner walked away decided to reclaim his mornings. Instead of checking his phone, he went to the gym, studied a new language, and volunteered on weekends. Within months, he no longer measured his days by her responses. When your days are full of work that matters, relationships that uplift you, and challenges that sharpen you, her choice to engage or not becomes a detail, not a defining event. The balance shifts because you're no longer orbiting her world. You're building your own. Epictetus taught, "If you wish to be a writer, write." The principle applies here. If you wish to live fully, then live. Remove the pedestal, reclaim the hours, and make her absence powerless. Level up without her when she ignores you. The worst thing you can do is stop moving forward. The moment your life pauses and hopes she'll come back, you make her the center of your existence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Your growth must not depend on her involvement. A man who values himself uses these moments as a turning point to train harder, work smarter, and aim higher. The best way to make her absence irrelevant is to evolve so far that you no longer recognize the version of yourself who once waited. This means committing fully to your physical strength, financial independence, social network, and personal discipline. Every day should create distance between who you are becoming and the man she ignored. That gap is your advantage. The wider it grows, the less influence she holds. Consider the man who, after a breakup, built a thriving business, completed a marathon, and learned new skills. Months later, she returned to find someone she could no longer take for granted. He hadn't changed to provoke her. He changed because he refused to stand still. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Most men waste months in emotional limbo, replaying what went wrong. Meanwhile, they lose ground they can never recover. But if you channel that same energy into building your life, you win, whether she returns or not. When you level up without her, you send a clear message. Your path moves forward with or without anyone's permission. And in that momentum, you discover something powerful. You never needed her to keep climbing. Let mystery do the work. When you react to being ignored by posting more, showing more, and proving you're fine, you make her absence comfortable. She can still track your life without engaging, still feel your presence without giving. Her own true mystery is the opposite. It removes her access to your inner world. Marcus Aurelius said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." By constantly displaying your moves, you give away the answers to questions she hasn't even asked. Mystery forces her to make an effort if she wants to know what you're doing, who you're with, and where you're going. But mystery is not disappearing and doing nothing. That's just absence. Real mystery comes from living a life full of action and progress, but choosing not to. Broadcast every detail. Tighten your circle, share selectively, and let your growth be felt, not announced. Consider a man who stopped posting his workouts, travels, and social events. He didn't vanish. He kept building himself, meeting people, and creating new opportunities. Over time, curiosity replaced comfort because access was no longer free. Seneca wrote, "If you wish to be loved, love." In this context, it means investing your energy into people and pursuits that value you while leaving space for others to wonder. When someone senses more happening in your life than they can see, they either step forward to find out or watch from a distance. Mystery backed by substance is magnetic. Live so fully that your absence from her view is felt, and let her curiosity work in your favor. Social proof kills her doubt. One of the most powerful forces in human behavior is social proof. People value what others value, Marcus Aurelius said. What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. When others see your worth, it changes the way you are perceived, even by those who once ignored you. When she feels she's your highest quality connection, ignoring you is easy. But if you surround yourself with people who respect and enjoy your presence, join circles that inspire you and achieve things that carry weight, the story changes. She begins to question whether she misjudged you. Social proof isn't about staged photos or fake appearances that damages credibility. It's about genuinely building a life where people want you in the room, where your presence adds value. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Invest in environments that elevate you, even if it means starting small. Example, a man began attending industry events, joining volunteer groups, and training with a dedicated community. Over time, he became known and respected. His ex saw the shift not because he told her, but because others spoke highly of him. The beauty of social proof is that it works beyond her. The more your reputation grows, the less dependent you are on any one person's approval, Seneca wrote. Associate with those who will make a better man of you. When you move in respected circles, ignoring you stops being an easy choice. Instead of worrying why she's silent, put yourself where your name carries weight. Contribute value, build alliances, and create a reality where losing you would be her mistake and everyone knows it. Indifference is irresistible. True indifference is not pretending you don't care while secretly watching her every move. It's reaching the point where her presence or absence has no power over your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Real indifference is living so fully that no one person holds the keys to your stability. Most men bend to a woman's moods, approval, and attention. But when she meets a man who doesn't rise or fall based on her actions, she is forced to see him differently. This state cannot be faked. Ignoring her for a few days while hoping she notices is still dependence. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Real indifference comes from building a complete life, health, mission, finances, skills, and discipline, so you are unaffected by anyone's withdrawal. Your worth is rooted in who you are, not in her reaction. Example, a man focused on his career, training, and friendships after being left. He didn't act cold. He was simply too engaged in his growth. To be pulled into games, months later she reached out, but his direction didn't change. Her return or absence were both acceptable outcomes. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Indifference is bravery in relationships, the courage to reallocate your time and energy without bitterness. The moment returns fade. Without emotional dependency, manipulation fails. And when you live this truth, you stop chasing because you're already moving toward a life she cannot control. Never reward disrespect. Disrespect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Like being ignored without reason or having your time taken for granted. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." If you tolerate disrespect without consequence, you teach others your boundaries can be bent. When she ignores you and you respond by giving more attention, you reinforce the very behavior you should reject. In human behavior, what is rewarded is repeated. If she learns she can disappear and return to find you waiting, she will do it. Again, not out of malice, but because you've shown there is no cost. Boundaries aren't about controlling others. They're about controlling yourself. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice." Decide what you will and won't accept, and enforce it consistently, even when it's uncomfortable. Example: a man told a friend he wouldn't tolerate being canceled on last minute without apology. When it happened again, he calmly stepped back from the friendship. Over time, his relationships improved because those who stayed respected his standards. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." When you stop rewarding disrespect, the quality of people in your life rises. You're no longer begging for scraps of attention. You're making space for those who value you. Removing yourself from disrespect is not revenge. It's self-protection. And once you live by this rule, you'll find you lose fewer people than you feared and gain far more respect than you imagined. Replace. Don't chase when someone walks away without respect. The worst thing you can do is run after them. Chasing signals, they hold the power that their absence is a wound you can't survive. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In this case, the best response is to rise above the need to be chosen. Chasing traps you in the illusion that they are irreplaceable. Replacement isn't about finding someone else to provoke jealousy. It's about redirecting your time, energy, and focus toward people and opportunities that value you. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Walking away may look foolish to some, but it's the path to freedom. Operating from abundance means knowing the world is full of connection, growth, and fulfillment beyond one person. Scarcity thinking makes you accept terms that lower your standards. Abundance lets you see endings as openings. Example: after a painful breakup, a man expanded his social circle, joined new communities, and advanced in his career. In time, the loss felt small compared to the life he built. By replacing instead of chasing, he not only regained his confidence, he outgrew her. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." When you commit to replacement, you outgrow the past. Whether she returns or not becomes irrelevant, because your life is already in motion. Replacement sends a silent, powerful message. You don't pause for anyone. People respect what they cannot control, and the man who replaces never chases. Always builds a future so strong that the past loses all power. No woman's silence should break you if you've made it this far. You already know, no woman's silence should have the power to undo you. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Mastering yourself is the only safeguard against being at the mercy of someone else's attention. Knowing the truth is not enough. Must live it daily. This is why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, a set of strategies to keep your emotions, standards, and life under your control. It's not about winning her back. It's about becoming a man who doesn't need to. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Decide the kind of man you will be, grounded, disciplined, and unshakable, then act in alignment with that decision, regardless of her involvement. Example: a man whose partner left used the time to strengthen his business, train his body, and deepen his friendships. Months later, her return or absence no longer mattered. His life was rich with purpose and momentum. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Her silence is not the end. It's the friction that can sharpen you. Whether she stays gone or comes back, you win by standing firm. A man who moves forward without waiting for permission. Once you adopt this mindset, you stop being an option. You become the one who decides. From that place, no withdrawal of attention can shake your foundation. If you're ready, act now. If you're ready to stop being someone's backup plan. You must commit to living by higher standards, starting today. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape the respect you command." Drop a comment, connect with other men on the same path, and surround yourself with those who value growth. Epictetus taught, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Focus less on what you've lost and more on the life you're building. Example: a man joined a small mastermind group after a breakup. The group met weekly to share wins, challenges, and goals. In 6 months, his business grew, his confidence returned, and his old relationship no longer defined him. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Craving her attention keeps you poor in spirit. Replacing that craving with purpose makes you rich in freedom. If you're ready to live this way, commit now. Don't just consume these ideas. Act on them. Every day you wait is another day. You live on someone else's terms. The man who moves forward without hesitation becomes the man no one can control. Decide the man you will be if you're ready to take control. The choice is yours. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." Set your ambition high, not for her approval, but for your own growth. Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This means acting now, not later. Every delay keeps you tied to the past. Example: a man committed to a year of focused self-improvement, fitness, learning, building a business. By the end, the life he had was unrecognizable from the one she left. Seneca wrote, "While we wait for life, life passes." Don't wait for permission to move forward. The man who decides and acts today builds a future no loss can take away.